my god. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say to that.
Alright, we'll be back with our review of AEW Dynamite right after these messages.
Oh, wow.
Alright guys, we're back on the air. We were off the air for a second, and Vlad and Robert were talking about, basically, I don't think they like this episode, right? I mean, is that what's going on here?
I don't know what Robert thought. I don't know what Robert thought, but yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like all bad, but overall, it was meh.
Okay, we'll get to our grades and our overall reviews at the end of the show. But let's go through it. If there's anything that you guys want to pop in and say anything, or I'll have certain things where certain parts where I'll have questions for you. So let's go ahead and dive into it. This is AEW Dynamite from May 2nd, 2023. So I think you guys already know that I popped as soon as the show started, right? As Orange Cassidy's music hits, and he comes out with his new best friend Bandito, my new favorite duo. And I was a little disappointed to find out that this wasn't an international title defense, but a 4-on-4 tag against the Jericho Appreciation Society, and Jericho's coming out on commentary. Now you might remember from last week, because I know you guys saw the show, Orange Cassidy and Bandito were kicking it in the back, and they couldn't stand to see Adam Cole getting the crap kicked out of him and by the JAS, so they jumped in to help before Roderick Strong showed up, and they all cleaned house. And anyways, not much to see here, I guess. Babyfaces win. Orange Cassidy, Bandito, Adam Cole, and Roderick Strong beat JAS. And but before we get to the afterbirth, I do want to mention that our review last week of Orange Cassidy versus Bandito was our highest viewed video. Over 100 views. Highest viewed video on this channel so far. And my highest viewed video ever, really. I've had several YouTube channels. I've never gotten 100 views on anything. So this is a milestone. Got more views than our World Heavyweight title discussion, our Bullet Club discussion. So there is no denying now that Orange Cassidy is a needle mover. So Vlad, I got 1 minute on the clock for you here. Vlad, do you not deny that Orange Cassidy is a needle mover? 1 minute on the clock.
He's a needle mover? No, I deny that he's a needle mover. He's a pest that has been. It's like gum stuck to your shoe that you can't get rid of. It's the worst. It's like I don't even know what. My heart sank when his music played to open the show again. I mean, this is like at least the fifth time in the past 6-7 weeks that he's opened the show in one form or another. It's terrible. It's terrible. I hate the gimmick. I'm over it. It was funny in the beginning. It gets old. Can we move on from Orange Cassidy? It doesn't make any sense. It's fine if you want to have him as a joke gimmick, but enough already. Enough of pushing him as a champion of some sort. It's ridiculous. No, he's not a needle mover unless you mean that he makes my brain hurt and that moves some sort of needle to you because my brain is hurting.
All right, listen, Robert hasn't been on for any of our Dynamite reviews, so I want to get some Robert thoughts on Orange Cassidy. You like him, you don't like him. Is the joke played out, as Vlad says? 1 minute on the clock for you.
I thought you were going to ask me if he's a needle mover.
Yeah, is he a needle mover? Come on, he gets ratings.
To some extent, he has to be, because they almost always start off the show with him to get the crowd reaction. And look at your views for that video with him and Bandito.
Right.
It moved the needle. It moved the needle for your.
I'm telling you, I didn't think it was before, but shit.
So yeah, to some extent, he is. He's not the biggest draw, but he is. He is a needle mover to some extent.
What about the joke? Do you like the joke?
That doesn't mean I like him. I'm not necessarily a fan of him, but I'm not going to deny that he's moving the needle.
So you don't like him?
Not really. Oh, I liked him at the very beginning, but I think the joke got old for me pretty quickly.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, Tony Khan obviously is putting him on because there's a reason. He gets ratings. He gets me ratings, and I'll put him on as long as he gets me ratings. Anyways, let's move on with our Dynamite review. It's getting late. So Afterbirth, Adam Cole immediately runs up to the commentator's booth and attacks Chris Jericho after all they've been through in the past couple weeks, you know. I was going to say you'd think Jericho would have been more prepared for Adam Cole to come attack him after everything he's done to his girlfriend. You know, and that T-shirt they put out with the black eye, which was kind of in bad taste. In bad taste from AEW, too. Kind of weird, but okay. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that. But, anyways, he laid into him pretty good. So he got some heavy shots in, and then security separated them. So, that was that. But it's not done yet, actually. You know what? Before I get some thoughts on Chris Jericho, let me jump to a backstage segment they had, and Darby Allin and Jungle Boy, they got interviewed, and they said they're going to put their differences aside for this main event tonight and try to get their title shot at the pay-per-view. And then they cut back to the back of the arena where the security is removing Adam Cole from the building. Jericho's holding his head, selling the attack, pleading with security to get him out. I don't know if you guys remember this. And then Britt Baker comes in, calls Jericho Bitch Jericho, slaps him, rips his shirt off, and Jericho falls down in a heap crying, begging to be protected from Adam Cole. Any thoughts on Chris Jericho's acting here or anything that went on with these guys?
Oh my God!
Britt Baker just made the list.
All right, Robert.
Oh, man.
Oh, you're saying that he's gonna get her back now for this because she humiliated him.
That's right.
What about the acting? The acting from Jericho, since we're smart marks here and we're analyzing their performance. Come on. Any thoughts on Jericho's acting here? Did it jump out as bad, or you guys thought this was fine?
I don't know, for a little over the top, but I think for him that's like par for the course. That's usually how he acts anyway. So,
Okay. I'll just say this: it looked okay when she slapped him and he took a bump. It was ridiculous. Okay?
yeah, that was.
Okay, that was absurd. He felt like he had just been rocked by something, like a Mike Tyson punch.
Like he got hit by the orange punch.
Yes.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, I thought it was. I mean, he's always been an over actor, and he was just ridiculous. And why is security kicking him, Adam Cole, out? What sense did that make? People are getting unopened with screwdrivers on this show, and nobody gets kicked out. But whatever.
all right.
Okay, kick him out. Kick everybody out. Can I be kicked out? I want to go.
It's true. Sometimes they'll let someone just murder someone, and sometimes all the security pours in. That is inconsistent in wrestling in general, not just in AEW. But anyways, let's move on with the show. So they cut to the stairwell, which is one of their favorite scenes, places to shoot scenes, I guess.
Yeah, that and the trash can.
And the Blackpool Combat Club are hanging out in the stairwell. They had some audio troubles, just like us. I don't know if you guys noticed that for the first 10 seconds.
I surely did.
We couldn't
hear anything they were saying.
Couldn't hear what Danielson was saying. So it's not just my show, I guess. What did he say? What did Daniel say? Oh, he cut a very weird promo here on Bret Hart. Remember? Called Bret Hart arrogant for saying he's the best there is, best there was, best there will be, and to think there will never be anybody better. He said that's arrogant. He said he's better than Bret. He said he's better than anyone who came before him. And if it's not him, then it's one of the other guys in the Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, it's Wheeler Yuta. Yeah.
But
yeah, he's just better than Bret Hart.
But he says he does hope that there will be better than him in the future. Even Wheeler Yuta, the little shit, as he calls him. And he says that he says this is the main difference between them and the elite. That basically they want to push others to get better, and they want to push this company to be the best in the world, and all that. And this is supposed to be like an offshoot of like it's kind of a shoot, right? That the Young Bucks are jokes, I guess, and they're not pushing other guys on the show to actually get better and make the company better. So I don't know if what you guys thought of this Bryan Danielson promo. Anything odd about this, or did you think it was fine?
I mean, I honestly didn't hear a lot of it. That was like you said when the audio went kind of, and then like I did hear him say something with Bret Hart, but then then my also had some technical difficulties at the same time as well. So I didn't really gain anything from it. So I don't have an opinion one way or another. I did hear him say something about he's better than Bret Hart, and I was like, what the hell? What does Bret Hart have to do with any of this? But anyways, yeah, I don't have an opinion.
Robert, anything on this segment with
Yeah, so for starters, whoever's in charge of the audio, I have one word to describe them. Amateurs. Amateurs. Nothing but a bunch of amateurs.
Right.
But okay, but regarding his promo, he did surprise me when he said, I hope someone in the future ends up becoming better than me. Like I didn't expect to hear that from him. Like, wow, okay. I was hoping he would call the elite amateurs. I actually like it when he calls his opponents that, because he says it with so much conviction that like it sounds like he really believes it. Maybe he does. But that's why I like it when he actually does that, because he says it with conviction. But he didn't actually say it in the promo. He did compare himself to Bret Hart, which I like him better than Bret Hart, so sure, why not?
What?
But I do.
I mean, Danielson is great.
Moxley,
He's great.
Moxley did a promo after that regarding the Kenny Omega match.
Yes, yes.
Saying, I don't know if you.
Yes. He says that. I'll go through that. He said that that the Blackpool Combat Club are blades looking for iron to sharp. So that he's shooting off what Danielson was talking about. That he wants to help push people to get better, right? And he says there was a time when the elite were innovators in wrestling, but that time is no more. Talks about next week's cage match with Omega. He says he's improved since their last match in 2019, and that he's going to leave a mark on him. So, yeah, they're going to have a match. Omega actually responds to this later, so we can talk about the Omega-Moxley match in a little while. That's going to be an interesting matchup, but let's move on. I'll do this next segment, and then we'll take a little break, one last break. So the next match is Saraya versus Willow. Saraya with Tony Storm and Ruby. So none of the AEW originals came to bother to come out and help Willow. They just let her be on her own, which was kind of a plot hole to me. But anyway, Saraya had to use a lot of interference against Willow, which doesn't make her look great in my opinion, but she does get the win. And there was a very interesting afterbirth here. I don't know if you guys saw this part. So this part was very interesting. This may be the most interesting on the show. So the Outcasts are lining up to spray paint the big L for loser on Willow. And out comes Sheeta, one of the AEW originals, to presumably help Willow. But instead she appears to join the Outcasts. I was like, what the heck? Okay, but of course it was all a ruse, and Britt and Jamie are waiting in the wings to take out the Outcasts. And Sheeta joins in on the beatdown. They kendo stick them, and they spray paint Saraya in the face. They leave them all laying, spray painted and humiliated, just like Chris Jericho earlier. So we have to have a discussion about this, because the question I have is, what do you guys think of the heat that they pulled from these two angles, and how much heat they pulled? If you guys can comment on that. Vlad, you go first. What do you think of all this? They pulled some heat out of this. Was it enough? Could they have pulled more heat?
Well, you know what? I'll say I don't know about the heat, how much heat this angle has, but I will say I did kind of like this thing with Cheetah. I was kind of thrown for a loop a little bit. I was like, wait, what? She's joining them? I'm like, so I started actually watching. So I was like, wait, let me see what happens here. Why is she joining them? That makes no sense. And then I'm like, oh, it's one of those like double swerve thingies. Okay, so she's actually obviously not joining the Misfits. She's with Britt and Jamie Hayter. Okay, that makes more sense. Because otherwise, I was like, wait, she isn't an AEW original. So what sense would that make if she joined this Misfit group that's like corporate WWE?
Yeah, that was confusing for a minute. I will admit, I was like, what the heck is going on here? But okay, yeah, I was kind of with it for a while, but then it didn't last that long. Anyways.
Yeah, I was like, well, you know what? Sheeta, okay, put her somewhere. Put her in a group, I guess. She hasn't been doing anything, might as well.
Robert.
Like, oh, no, okay.
Robert, did these guys get enough heat out of this before they already got their comeuppance? I mean, come on, they've already got the revenge. And what more can they possibly do to these people? Like, yeah, you got anything to say about this?
I don't know, for me, I don't think they gained any more heat than they already had before that segment, personally. And yeah, I was also confused by that double swerve, like that's kind of random. And another thing that I thought in my mind when Britt and Jamie came out to the ring, I was like, Britt Baker, she's all over the place. Not too long ago, she was out in the back smacking Chris Jericho. Now she's all the way back in the ring assisting Willow. I'm like, how does she get all over the place? And nobody from JAS like attacked her after she attacked Chris Jericho. Like I thought that was kind of nonsensical. But
all right. Well, let me just mention, because maybe I didn't word the question very well. I didn't want to lead you guys with what I think, because that's my point here, though, as wrestling smarks and aficionados. Well, the point I'm trying to convey is Saraya and Jericho, they got all this heat for attacking Britt Baker, right? And doing something evil like this, you're supposed to kind of milk it for a while before they get their revenge, right? That's the point. The revenge is supposed to be like at the pay-per-view or a month down the line. So what I meant by the question, what do you think of the heat that AEW pulled from these two angles? What I was trying to get at is that I don't think they got enough heat out of this. I think that they could have kept rolling with it a little while, kind of milk it, make them fight a little bit to get the revenge, and instead both guys just got humiliated today, Jericho and Saraya and the Outcast. So basically, like, it's over. You know, they don't really need to continue this. This is not how the NWO angle went. The NWO didn't, like, spray paint somebody one day, and then the next day they got humiliated and their face flushed down the toilet. You know? We had to wait for, like, months before somebody would get some revenge on them. Or Mr. McMahon, you know? It would take a while. These things had to, like, simmer. So that's what I meant by did they pull enough heat out of these angles? They kendo sticked Britt Baker, in front of her boyfriend. And now it's over. They've already got all their revenge. So this to me it didn't end up well. I give this angle a negative. I think they should have waited a little while longer. Let it simmer a little bit and see if later on people will really actually dig it more if they got their revenge, like at the pay-per-view or something like that. I don't know if you guys...
Did you think that this was actually going to be a successful angle for the company? The women's division is a mess as a whole, so did you really think this was going to be... If you have low expectations, you don't, like I do when I watch the show, you don't think like, boy, they didn't, why did they do this? They just lost all their heat. No, that ship has sailed, I didn't even think about that. That's to be expected on this show. Forget about all that. I just kind of liked that I stopped for a second. I was like, whoa, what is Sheeta doing? What is going on with Sheeta?
All right, hey, hang on, Vlad. Before I get a response from Robert, I gotta take a break and cut the tape. Give me 1 sec.
Oh yeah.
All right. We're back. Robert, sorry I had to cut off that last segment abruptly, but if you had anything to add to the Britt Baker segment, otherwise we'll move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah. All right. Let's get your thoughts on the House of Black. So there was a pre-tape vignette where I guess they get to make up their own rules now for their title defenses. 20-second count-out, no rope breaks, DQ is enforced dealer's choice, which I don't understand what the hell that means. So, what do you guys think of this House of Black Trios title? Any thoughts? Let's go with Robert first.
I wasn't really paying attention to that, so I don't I don't really have any thoughts on that. So
Or the House of Black in general. Do you like this? Do you like how they're kind of spooky and they do these segments in the dark somewhere in some freaking room?
yeah, I mean it's cool. I don't have a problem with it. I think I do like Malachi Black. I think he's pretty cool. As a group, they're okay.
How about the Trios title? We've never asked your opinion about that.
They have it right now, right?
Yeah. Do you think this is a title that should exist?
Well, I don't know if it should, but I don't really care for it.
That's what we're asking. Do you care for it? All right, Vlad. What did you think of this segment? Come on, lay it on us.
I mean, no. I mean, look, I don't know what to say. I couldn't really understand what they were like. It kind of reminded me of Bray Wyatt a little bit. Like they talk in riddles. I can't really figure out what they're going for, what they're saying when they're talking. I mean, it sounds a little spooky. It looks kind of interesting, but it really goes nowhere and says nothing. Yeah, I guess they made some new, like, their matches have rules. That's the only part I really got. Like, they made their own rules. Julia Hart kind of looks cool. I think she looks the best of all of them.
I was gonna say,
just,
me and you, we think the same, Vlad. Heck yeah, Julia.
Julia Hart looks cool, but other than that, I mean, it's the Trios title. It's a meaningless title. It's more of the AEW's meaningless titles, like the International title and the Trios title. So whatever. Okay, let these guys be a group. But we all know that Malachi Black wants to go back and be with his wife in WWE. So he's just counting down until his contract expires. And he'll do whatever he has to do until that time comes so he can go back to the WWE.
Yeah, I thought this was weird. Like you guys, I also didn't really understand what the heck they were trying to say. Because I had to do this show, so I had to like pause it and like, you know, write it down and stuff. But I think it's ridiculous. What the heck is going on with these rules for their own matches that they get to make up? I don't like that. Anyways, let's move on. So they had a battle royal for a shot at the Trios title, which with a bunch of teams that are slapped together because there's not many Trios teams. And in the end, the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass win. So it's going to be the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus the House of Black. I don't know if you guys are excited about this. But anyways.
Yeah, through the roof. I'm excited. Can't you see the excitement on my face? Jesus Christ. What happened to the Acclaimed? They were just the tag team champions, and now they're in the Trios Battle Royal fighting for meaningless championships. Oh my God.
They were pretty like hot. They had a lot of momentum not too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
they cooled them off.
They cooled. Even their rap today was kind of not that good. All right, let's move on. So we got the title picture now. We got Renee's backstage with Sammy Guevara, and MJF interrupts. So this was an interesting segment. Sammy, he actually looked like he was going to end their friendship based on. He said he looked back on the show last week and he saw that there was a space in MJF's car, right? Which is kind of good that they filled that plot hole that people just don't go back and look at the shows sometimes. So, also the fact that I don't know if you saw this, Robert, but Ty Conti, his wife, like gave him a good dressing down on Rampage. You said you don't usually watch Rampage, but there was a good segment where she really like dressed him down, like, what the heck are you doing with MJF? You don't even like him. It was hilarious. You got to go back and look at that segment. But she was like a good wife in that segment. So I thought he was going to come to his senses and, basically end the friendship. But then MJF explained to him that he has back problems from carrying this company on his back, and he really needed to lie flat on the back seat. And he started crying. He pulled out the fake tears. It appeared fake. I don't know. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but. So Sammy falls for it all over again, and they go back to kissing and hugging because friends don't shake hands, they hug. any thoughts on this whole thing and how this segment played out from you guys?
So,
I'll let Robert go.
well, like I mentioned, I think earlier, I didn't actually watch last week's Dynamite either. So I think the reference that that they were making to last week's episode, I that just flew over my head. I had no idea what they were talking about. Um, it was a weird segment. Oh, it was one of the few MJF segments where I was like, oh, what the
You
heck?
see, Vlad, even Robert doesn't like this. I mean, I
Yeah.
I think it makes Sammy Guevara look pretty stupid. I gotta say.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been good if he listened to Ty Conti and just kind of went off on his own after that. Then I would have been like, okay, fine, he's come to his senses. But him like going along with MJF, like apparently for real, it makes him look real dopey. Uh,
Um, Sammy did mention in that segment that, or was it MJF? One of them said something about there's going to be a mashup there of their theme music, and I'm like, really? Are they really going to do it? I was kind of curious if that was actually going to go down. And
yeah, the one
well,
night where they're
should
gonna be
we-
a team, they mashed up their music. We'll get to that later. But Vlad, do you have any thoughts on this whole angle or what? You want to say anything?
No, not really. I will say though, was it me or was there's just so many backstage segments on this show? Like every second there'd be somebody backstage. I don't. This was like the episode where there was. I mean, countless times they were going backstage for this, going backstage for that. It just became like too much at one point. I was like, dude, what is going on here? Why are they going backstage again? I don't know if you kept count. I'm sure you did, but with the notes you wrote, but they were backstage all the time. I don't have anything to say about this specific thing. I think I talked about it last week. It's not one of my favorite MJF angles, and this whole thing with the pillars. I mean, I know what they're doing. They're trying to push the guys they think have the future of the company, but
It's pretty.
it's all kind of mid.
Yeah, it's
if you
mid.
want to tell them.
Mid.
It's mid and
Yeah.
silly. It's kind of
Mid.
silly. It's way
Yeah.
too silly. Anyway, we got a continuation of the backstage stuff with the Blackpool Combat Club. This time it's Kenny Omega with Don Callis, and they're saying they're gonna outsmart Moxley next week. And Omega says he knows how tough Moxley is, and he says it will all come to an end in the steel cage next week, which would be nice, but I severely doubt that. Right? Are you guys, any of you guys
Exactly.
excited for this match? I mean, that's kind of a marquee matchup.
I'll watch it. So I'm
Yeah, I think
interested.
it could be an interesting match. The build up, I've been whatever, but I'll watch the match too. It'll be one of those that I don't forward through. Vlad, are you excited for Moxley and Omega to rekindle their rivalry?
I'm just gonna. Yeah, very excited. But I'm just gonna ask, who wants to bet if Moxley's gonna blade her down?
Oh, that's not
all I
even a
wanna know.
bet, dude.
Who's willing
There's
to take
no
that bet?
bet there. You won't win anything making
on.
that bet. Come on.
Okay, how about this? The bet will be if we can catch him with the blade in his teeth or in his
Oh.
on the floor.
Now that's more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
at this point, yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
think about it.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that should be a good match. All right, let's move on. We got Wardlow against a jobber. It's a squash. Wardlow calls out Luchasaurus, challenges him for the title. He says you can have a TNT title match. But Christian comes out and says, actually, he's the one who wants the title match. And I was like, yes. Yes. Fuck yes. I was so scared that it was going to be Luchasaurus versus Wardlow. I love Christian. This is going to be dope.
I agree. Well, I didn't like the squash match with Wardlow, but the Christian's announcement that he's the one that wants to challenge for the title. That I
Yeah,
liked.
very slowly milked. This is 3 weeks in the making where Christian would just come out and not say anything. But in the end, I'm happy with this. Vlad?
I mean, yeah, it's better than Wardlow versus Thor. So, yes, yes,
right.
fine, let's do it. I agree.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you guys the option to skip the segment at Mark Briscoe's ranch. Do you think does that work? Yes. Vlad, skip.
Yeah.
What? I laughed. I thought it
Yeah.
was funny. I laughed a
All
couple
right.
times. I laughed. I don't know.
All right, fine.
I mean, compared to the rest of the show, I thought it was. It was
If
actually
Vlad
hilarious.
laughed, let's go through it. All right, so Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett and the crew show up at Mark Briscoe's house, and they want to make up for all the animosity that they've been having these past few weeks. If you guys have been keeping up, most of it's been on Rampage, so they end up helping out at the farm, and Jeff Jarrett was going to play guitar, which I've never seen him actually play guitar, but he got cut off by Mark Briscoe's dad. And in the end, I guess Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett want tips for beating FTR from Mark Briscoe. That's what this whole thing was all about. I mean, it was a silly segment. It was funny to see them working on the ranch with Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe's facial expressions. He's a good actor. So I think they could do more with him. I love Jeff Jarrett too. I don't know if Robert knows, he's my favorite wrestler of all time. Of all times. But I don't know, this they could do a little better with him, I think. But okay. Vlad got a kick out of the segment.
I just laughed when the dad, whatever they call him, Papa Briscoe, was like, you got to watch out for those two Indian guys, and he was like, well, he was like, you got to watch out for the Indian with the overalls, and then Mark was like, well, which one? He's like, and then dad was, well, both of them. You got to watch out for both. I don't know. It was silly. Obviously, it's not that funny, but to me, I laughed, and that was enough. That was enough for me to say, hey, to get something out of it.
It's nice to see the Briscoes. All right, well, look, I'm also going to give you guys the option to skip this, but I don't know if Robert's going to be cool with it because this is his boys. Bullet Club Gold version. Juice Robinson versus Ricky Starks. You guys had any thoughts on this? I mean, Starks wins clean.
No.
I don't...
This is up to Robert. I have no opinion one way or another.
It wasn't great, so yeah.
Well, Jay White versus Ricky Starks could be a good match, I think. That could be an interesting matchup.
It can be.
All right, so also we can skip this, although this is kind of one of my favorite angles. But the Firm is feuding with the Hardys and their friends, and
I totally forgot about it. But okay.
Wait, was there a segment?
They just reviewed it. They did a review where they went through the whole storyline, and they're gonna have a match at Matt Hardy's house. I like the segment they had on Rampage. I'll give a shout out to that. I know Robert doesn't watch Rampage, but there was a really funny segment with the Firm and Matt Hardy. I might text it to you later on, but anybody listening, you guys should go back and watch that segment because it was freaking funny. But let me see how much time we got left. Let me cut the tape one last time so we could talk about the main event without worrying about the tape finishing. So one last cut right here. Alright, we're back on to finish the show. We've got the main event and review. We're going to give the show a grade. So, backstage, MJF makes one last ditch effort to get out of this four-way match by trying to lure Jungle Boy to be his right-hand man. And of course, Jungle Boy refuses. So we go on to the main event. This was good. This was a nice match. This was the best worked match of the night, I thought. I'll give a shout out to MJF and Darby. They had this incredible counter spot. I don't know if you guys remember it, but I don't even know how to describe it. But MJF had a moment where he looked like he was going to do a dive with Sammy, and he didn't do it. Instead, he just let Sammy do it on his own, and he said, "My leg hurts," which was smart because those dives, never lead to the end of a match. But the drama finally came at the end when they were both arguing over who was going to get the pin on Jungle Boy, and then finally MJF slapped Sammy. Sammy retaliated, which led to a combination of moves where Sammy ended up taking the pin. And after the match, MJF was so livid, he started yelling at the crowd and some kid in the audience. I don't know if you guys caught that, but it was pretty hilarious. So there you have it. After everything that we've been through, we finally learned that it's going to be a Pillars Fatal 4-Way. So I'll give the floor to, let's give it to Robert first, I guess. What do you think, how do you think that match will end, first of all?
You mean the upcoming pay-per-view or the Dynamite one that just happened?
Well, do you want to talk about that Dynamite match?
I liked it. So, this was probably the only match that I liked in the show.
Yeah.
Thought it was well done. Good storytelling. I love
Yes.
how when MJF got choked by his own scarf. Like I love the way he sold it. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Um, so yeah, overall that was really good, and I think this was the first time that I saw all four of the pillars in the ring in action in the ring. Not doing promo work. So that was
Yes.
pretty cool to see, and um, it's very evident they're all four of them are really talented. So I'm not typically a fan of Fatal Four Ways, but I am kind of intrigued by this. So I'll be looking forward to that pay-per-view.
All right. Well, that's good analysis, Robert. What about you, Vlad? What did you think of this match? I already told you that I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty solid for a TV match. It was solid. It was good. There was some decent work. I again, but by this point of the show, I was already, nearing the home stretch. So when a show's been bad, you don't have the same enjoyment as you would if you've enjoyed a show and you're watching. Even if you're watching something pretty solid or good, my opinion might be. I'm just that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm different. Like when I watched an hour and a half of or an hour and 40 minutes of crap, I don't really get the same excitement even if something is good. So I thought it was solid work. It was decent. Like I said, this is not my favorite MJF angle. So, but all in all, yeah, I don't, probably was the best thing as far as in-ring work of the night. But that's not saying a lot either, though, just compared to what.
All right. Well, let's go back to Robert before we give our grades for the show. Let's make a prediction. How do you think the match will end for the Pillars Fatal Four Way?
Oh,
And how do you think it should end? So two questions. How do you think it will end, and how do you think it should end?
I think my answer to both of them actually be the same. So I think MJF will retain. Um, I don't know, maybe Darby might win, but I don't know. Out of the other three pillars, I think that none of the three pillars are really. I wouldn't consider them ready to be the champ. Maybe Darby is the closest one to it out of the other three, but I do think MJF will still be champion at the end.
All right, Vlad, prediction.
Yeah, I have to second that. I mean, MJF is going to retain somehow. I don't know if he's going to have to cheat his way to victory or something's going to happen. I mean, or just there'll be a lot of chaos with four guys in the ring at once, and somehow he'll just get the pin at the end somehow. I'm sure it'll be as good as they can get it to be, but like four ways, it's not my thing. There's just two, whatever. But yeah, and should he win? Yeah, of course he should continue to win. He's the one bright spot in the company. Of course, he should be the champion, but. Yeah, I mean, I know maybe you think it's time to make Darby. I don't think I don't think it's time. I don't think he's ready for that just yet.
You took the words right out of my mouth, baby. I think Darby should win. I know they're going to give it to MJF, but I think it's Darby's time. I think Darby's time is now before he kills himself, because when he fucks himself up, then everyone's going to be saying, like, oh, man, too bad he didn't get a run with the title. Well, unless they have CM Punk waiting in the wings to face MJF at Wembley Stadium, I would say let Darby win, and then you could have a rematch at Wembley Stadium. MJF versus Darby. That's how I would do it. But that's not knowing what's going on with CM Punk. So, all right. I know you guys all groaned that when we had to start this Dynamite review today. So let's give your final grade. Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. That's fine. This was bad. I guess I'll give it a. I don't know. I'll give it a D plus. I'll give it a D plus. This was bad. This was a bad show, guys. This was not good.
All right, Robert.
B minus maybe. I would have given it a D if it wasn't for that last match. The last match kind of put it over the edge, over the D at least. So
Yeah, I'm more on Robert's side. I'm gonna give it a C minus. I was thinking D plus too, just because there was really nothing much else on this show until the end. But I don't know, the angle, the Pillars Fatal 4-Way angle, the whole thing they did with Sammy and MJF kind of made it suffer a little bit. I think the whole thing could have been better if they just played it straight. That's my opinion. But I think they could have landed at a Fatal 4-Way another way other than having MJF and Sammy have that ridiculous agreement for money and all that. So, alright, I'm going to go C-. Well, that'll conclude our AEW Dynamite review. I guess we did it. This show probably maybe wasn't worth reviewing all in detail like that, but for posterity and historical purposes, we'll just leave this online. Maybe someone in the future will look back and they'll want to know what people actually thought of these shows. But, hey, Robert, did you drink tonight? Were you